And welcome back. We're here with Nic Myers for episode 14. And yeah, Nick's a super accomplished strongman, pirate aficionado, overall just a great guy all around. I remember seeing him years ago on YouTube doing like backflips with Juji Mufu and Brian Alsruhe and them. Those
Yeah,
were good
yeah.
times. Yeah. So he's great. He's getting ready to, I think, helping to promote the Chaos Classic, competing
Yep.
as the 190 kg class. I ordered a shirt from Battle X Barbell, so I'll have your name there. It
Mom
was
there.
hard to decide, and then I was like, "You took us up on the interview," so I was like, "I'll
I
go with you. I'll go with Myers." Yeah, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me,
Welcome,
guys.
Nick.
Yeah, how have you been doing?
I've been good, man. Recently moved back to the East Coast from Arizona. I loved it out west. Just got some irons in the fire. Things are cooking. Bring back here to stabilize a little bit. To get those things up and running. I may not have made my own pirate flag. So there's some things coming, and I'm pretty excited about. Just got to get all the rest of the ducks in the row, and then we'll turn and burn. So
Awesome,
Nice.
man.
That's real
Well,
good.
it's great having you, Nick. As we talked at the beginning or before we started recording, we like to play a little game called Trash or Treasure, which I think, the treasure part at least works well with the
yeah, it fits.
the pirate persona. So
Yeah,
we're gonna do a little bit different. We were doing supplements, but today we're gonna do a couple of different categories: gym equipment, food, and exercise, kind of in that order. I've got 10 questions, so I'll just say piece of equipment, food, or exercise. Pass it right to you, Nick. First to vote, trash or treasure. We'll go around, vote, and then come back and discuss kind of our reasoning. So the first one, piece of gym equipment, is the leg press. Nick, trash or treasure?
trash.
John?
As far as the machine goes, trash.
Okay, I think we all agree. Leg press is kind of trash. Nick, what are your thoughts? Why trash?
I just think there's so many more options that can do way better. Belt squat and actual squats, literally any other squat variation. And the way like a lot of people do leg press wrong, they go too deep and it actually rolls up their lumbar spine up off the pad, and you're then not just loading your legs. You're really curving that lumbar spine in a bad position, that could compromise to some sort of injury or tweak or something. So I see most people do that more than not. So that's why I say trash.
Yeah, agree with that. John?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think there are plenty of other things you could do just because it is, yeah. Like, I feel like either you have one end of the spectrum where you're doing these like eighth squats, quarter squats kind of things, or you're going too deep and you're just rolling up like a little cinnamon roll. And
Yeah.
at which point it's like, either way, I feel like I like the ones that can turn into a hack squat machine because I like the hack squat more. So
Yeah.
it's like that Titan one. I'll give a little bit of credit to the Titan one, but no,
Yeah.
normal leg press. It takes up a huge amount of space as a gym owner too. Like
So
I
much
don't
Yeah,
think,
so
yeah,
much space. That's the worst aspect of it, in my opinion. But it's funny, a lot of people say that leg press takes your posterior chain out, but you make a good point, Nick. It causes a massive butt wink, right?
Yeah.
It's about what it does if you go too deep, which is kind of the opposite of what you want to have. But yeah, it's an inferior movement. Why bother when you can squat or even hip belt squat? So everybody agrees, trash, leg press out. Next one, reverse hyper. Nick.
Treasure all day long. An absolute fucking treasure.
Nice. John.
yeah, 100% a treasure. I usually say pocket treasures. This one's a full size treasure chest. Like it's definitely good.
I'm a little on the fence on this with the reverse hyper. I gotta go trash, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack from that, especially from my coach if he listens to this. And I'll explain later. Nick, why do you think it's such treasure?
Someone who has terrible mobility. At the end, it's a great warm-up tool. It's a great cool-down tool. It's a great burnout tool. Depending on how you use it, you can really overload it and get a swing to overload that extension and really get the lower back and the glutes really contracting on heavier weight without having to do a deadlift and things like that. Or you can do it really slow under really light weight, and like if you're working back from an injury, to really get a full range of motion with a low risk movement, and really get a lot of work done within that range of motion. So, man, it's just so versatile with the movement itself on what you can do with it. I love that thing.
Cool. John?
Yeah, I mean, everything Nick said. And also, I find it's great to like finish any kind of workout of just that stretch and everything. Like, it just feels great overall to use. And I feel like overall, it's just like a really helpful tool to have around. I will say some of them do take up too much space, but the West Side, the little Rogue Hyper Scout that folds into a wall, that like solves any problems you'd have. So I would overall say that it's a treasure, and this lighting is how that makes me feel that you said it's a trash.
I'm a further on because I've used a reverse hyper for leg extensions, leg curls, and then the ones that have the glute ham raise attachment on the back, like the big Rogue one. You can then do back raises and load the pendulum and hold on to it and do back raises. So
yeah. So I've also, so I actually use a reverse hyper pretty frequently, and I've done leg extensions. We were just actually doing some really crazy, I don't know, coach called them pulsers, but they were more like a seated good morning with a band on the machine, on the pendulum. But one of the reasons I don't think that it's in every single gym, I would say 99% of the time it doesn't get used, and it's just a table for trash. and it doesn't mean that it's not useful, but it hardly ever gets used because there's so many other movements you can do the mimicking. I mean, you have a GHR, you still do back extensions, right? Which targets the same exact muscle groups. I mean, good mornings, RDLs. There's a lot of different things you can do in the space that it takes up. So, I mean, if it was me personally, I wouldn't waste my money on it. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's not a completely useless tool. It just gets used very, very infrequently, except for a workbench or or just like trash table.
Get better gym members.
Yeah. I mean that's true. I mean, where I'm at now, it still gets used like maybe 10% of the time, but 90% of the time it's still covered in trash. And this is the only gym that I've seen it used as much as it gets used. It gets used quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, so I think 2-to-1 treasure. I'll give it to you guys. I'm just biased. Number 3, shake weight. Nick.
Treasure.
It's
provocative.
It's provocative.
It shapes and tones. It sounds cool. And you can throw it at people.
Yeah, it's a weapon.
Underrated low-key treasure.
Underrated low-key treasure, John.
Yeah, the low-key treasure part's pretty good because I just can't believe that it got invented. Like, whoever thought of that is just like the fact they got people to spend money on that, and just like the whole movie. Like the South Park episode about it was so good. Like overall,
and
they brought a South Park episode about a reverse hyper.
So I was like, it's up there. It's like a miniature kind of like secret pocket treasure, like a candy bar you forgot, one of those mini ones.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you guys. That's hard to argue. Pure genius. And I mean, there's been so many memes and jokes as a result. I mean, it is invaluable. What would we have done as a society without the shake weight?
Name another fitness fad implement that was on South Park.
I can't.
It's
I mean, it's earned its word just there, right?
It's a national treasure because of that alone.
It's a national treasure. Yes. It is unanimous. All right. Food. Liver. Nick.
I mean, I haven't eaten enough liver to even have an opinion, I feel like. I know it's very dense in a lot of things. I think that's very subjective, but if I'm going personally, I might get hate on this one, but trash. It's expensive,
Okay.
Isn't it?
No.
See,
No, super cheap. Super cheap because nobody eats it. I mean, very few people eat it except for Liver King. So
I'm just putting a disclaimer.
I mean, he's supporting the entire industry for liver right now.
I'm just putting a disclaimer that I don't eat it enough to have an opinion. So whatever I say here, I cannot be held accountable for.
Okay. Duly noted.
I know it's really got a lot of good shit. So maybe treasure. I just don't know. I don't know nothing about it.
Kind of on the fence.
It keeps me from getting alcohol poisoning. So treasure.
There you go. Your own liver is a treasure. John.
Yeah, I would say that it is really high in protein and it's supposed to have a lot of good nutrients for you, and it's relatively cheap, especially if you have like a local butcher shop and everything. And I think arguably in a culture that is built on overconsumption but somehow wasting a lot of stuff as well, I think trying to emphasize more like a nose to tail diet, like I think it could help a lot of people, especially if you're looking for like affordable ways to get protein and stuff. Anytime meat's like less than a few bucks a pound, like that's always good. I did one time eat 8 ounces of raw liver, and it was possibly the hardest thing I've had to do. It was really intense.
So I mean, it's all in preparation. I think people don't understand how to cook liver. Like, I'm a big fan. I love liver because liver by itself is not always the best. I mean, you can't overcook it because it's very easy to overcook. You overcook it, it turns into kind of like the consistency of crumbly bubble gum, which I hate. It's just disgusting.
Ugh.
But Braunschweiger is fucking amazing. Chicken liver pate. There's so many good kind of like pate style or sausage style dishes you could make with liver that are so good. But it usually tends to be pretty high in fat. It's not something that I would probably introduce into a balanced diet, or at least not a lot of it. A little can go a long way, but dude, liver is so amazing. It's a huge treasure to me. So
I don't know what a pate is. So
well, you're gonna have to talk to Ben Donin when you're over there. The French guy, he'll explain it all to you because it's very, very French. Pate is like really. I mean, it can come in a couple of different ways, but think of like Spam. Spam is basically pate. It's really cheap meat that's like ground up and put into some kind of mold with salt and fat. But French usually do it a lot better. But like a chicken liver pate is like a really smooth, like almost mousse. And so is Braunschweiger. It's basically a pate. It's like meat. I don't know how to explain it. It's like super fine meat sausage. It's kind of like sausage.
Meat mousse.
Probably the best way to put it. What's that?
Meat mousse.
Meat mousse. I mean, that's really. Braunschweiger and chicken liver pate are almost like meat mousse. They're delicious. You cannot go wrong, man. If you're ever traveling in Europe, I'm sure you can find pate all over in the UK as well in the stores. So check it out, man. They make way better food over there than we have here.
Yes.
Number 5 on the list is tuna fish casserole. Nick.
Throw it in the trash.
Trash. John.
So I do like tuna fish casserole, tuna sandwiches, everything. Like Andy doesn't like me cooking or microwaving any sort of tuna in the house. So when she goes out of town, I like to make like tuna melts and stuff because it's great. And the cats are really happy. We're all really happy. She comes home, the house smells terrible.
I'm so disappointed in you,
time.
John. I'm so disappointed.
I like a casserole in general, though. I think it's like growing up with like church food and everything. You get used to like very basic casseroles.
You have to get a different name on your shirt.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going with trash. I mean, tuna fish like sandwiches cold, I don't mind. As soon as you cook it, man, like that is the most disgusting trash. And I like food, man. Like I will eat almost anything. Tuna fish casserole, just put it in the toilet.
I will say I'm very picky with my fish because I'm from Maryland, so I grew up on like good, fresh seafood, and like I don't even like canned tuna because it doesn't taste like the tuna I know. Like I love tuna steak, like fresh. You know, we've had it like caught it out of the ocean, and then you fillet the fish, and then you're dipping raw fresh. You rinse it off obviously into a wasabi, and then just biting a chunk out of the. Oh, it's so good.
Dude, there's nothing better than like fresh tuna and sashimi. I mean, I used to work in restaurants, and I was a professional chef for like the first 7 years of my adult life. And man, like cleaning up fresh tuna, fresh salmon, like cherry. I'm sorry. Now I'm blanking on the name, like the little baby clams, cherry stone clams, I think they're called. Yeah. Those, I mean, even like fresh, like good quality beef, just lob a knob off, man, a little bit of sea salt. Dude, there's nothing better than that. So I'm with you 100%, Nick. But I can actually eat a tuna fish sandwich. I don't mind it so much, but I don't buy tuna. I couldn't tell you the last time I've eaten canned tuna. So I think that John, you lose that round. It's trash. 2-1. All right, next one. Peanut butter. Nick.
Oh, treasure. It tastes amazing for that principle alone. Absolute treasure. And I can't tell you how many times, like on deployment, in the military, like you just got nothing else and you're just housing like packaged peanut butter. Like
yes,
it's gonna look really provocative the way you do it, but like,
I mean, it can't be worse than the shake weight.
Bingo.
John, peanut butter.
Also say it's a treasure. It's a really fast snack. If you don't have any like little packs of tuna, the little Starkist 50-cent, it's good protein. If you don't have that kind of snack around, peanut butter is great.
Yeah, man. So life without peanut butter is no life at all. So, unanimous treasure, peanut butter. Take that, Atlas. I heard on the grapevine anyway that he doesn't like peanut butter. All right, some exercises. Tricep kickbacks, Nick.
That's
yeah.
Tells you how much. I'm gonna say trash. I mean, I just think there's way more useful tricep movements, extensions, push downs, overhead variations that are just way more. If you're talking in our sport, in strongman, and in powerlifting even, I just think there's way more useful tricep variations that are out there than a kickback. Plus, it's hard to do. Like you've got to put your arm on like a barbell and hang it to stabilize the elbow.
No, I think you're just supposed to like just hang and just do it. Like,
yeah, nah, I'll fuck that up.
like a reverse handy.
Yeah.
John, trash or treasure?
When I first started lifting, that was like one of the accessories I would do, but I found, I think like Nick said, there are so many things of like the Dick's press, like close grip bench, like different things
The
you can do.
Dick's press.
Yeah, that little one. It's also
I don't know
yeah.
what a Dick's press is, but
You haven't. So it's the one where it goes back.
I couldn't leave that one alone. I have no idea what a Dick's press is.
You look it up. It's a good little accessory.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you.
So I would say probably there are better things you could do. So trash. You know?
Okay, yeah, I agree. Total trash. I don't think like the only people that do tricep kickbacks are like grandmas and nobody. So definitely better movements for triceps than kickbacks. I don't even know why you would do that. I don't even know who invented it. Kind of a dumb movement. Next one, shadow boxing. Nick.
In like with what we do, or like
just in general exercise.
if you're boxing for like sport, that's a complete waste of time. Because like unless you're learning cadence and rhythm, like it's trash unless you're actually like your focus is boxing.
Okay, John.
So I would say that if you have like Eye of the Tiger or Final Countdown playing in the background, like I think it could get a pass. Like just that kind of like that guy in the corner of the gym who's just like just blasting 80s tunes, like shadow boxing, getting ready to like deadlift 225 with terrible form. Like there's something to it. There's like a charm there. It's a pocket treasure.
Trash. I mean,
Everyone
from the comedic sense, I mean, shadow boxing is pretty funny and has provided us with countless hours of entertainment. But I think it's total trash for anything. I don't know why you would shadow box. To go like most gyms nowadays have some form of boxing bags or something. I mean, go to a boxing gym and punch a bag, man. So, yeah, I think that was two trashes to maybe one sort of treasure.
trash and a sort of treasure.
And a sort of treasure for the romanticized value.
It's true. Like in an ideal world, like that, like ideal scenario, you're like, there's something poetic about that.
The poetic value is a pocket treasure. Okay, moving on. Zercher, Nick, don't get this wrong.
I think it's a treasure. I think in its, I mean, just picking, I mean, look at the way we pick. I grew up on a farm. I wish I knew how to Zercher 2 decades ago because it'll probably save me a lot of trouble and a lot of stupidity. I don't think it's the holy grail of variations, but I do think it is a treasure, and I think it's something that you, especially in our sport, need to have in your arsenal.
Definitely. John.
Yeah, I mean it's a total treasure. Like it's literally treasure.
No-brainer for John.
Yeah, I mean, I would think more people could do the deadlift from the floor. That would be nice to see out there. But I get that people need to just squat it, like deadlift it to the lap and everything. I can appreciate that. I think
mobility,
just overall, just great activation for the body. And people always say that it's not functional, but if you've ever had to like pick up a dog or a pig or something, like that's the exact movement you're doing. So I think it's pretty functional. Also, it's fun.
There you go. Yeah. So John's quoted me. My kind of thought is if the deadlift is the king of deadlifts, I think the Zercher is the immortal emperor. I think it's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. I love it. I mean, I just think it's brutal. That's what I like about it. I mean, I don't like it so much for the functional aspect because for me, like the vast majority of things that I do in the gym, there's like no point to any of it. Like I'm never gonna pick up 800 pounds outside of the gym for any reason. I won't Zercher 500 for any reason. I just love it for like the mental brutality of it. Just something that like is next level difficult from a mind over matter, pain tolerance, kind of persistence perspective. So I love Zerchers, man. I don't know that everybody should do them, but I love them to death. So huge treasure for me.
Yep. I'm a fan.
So okay, unanimous Zertrus. I mean, definitely in strongman. I think they have a lot of carryover actually to Atlas stones, if anything.
Yeah.
I think they're huge on getting that big front load, especially with a big extension. Huge for Atlas stones in my opinion. So last one, bonus, and it's kind of back to food, beverage, bourbon. Nick,
Treasure.
John.
I used to appreciate it and everything. I don't
You don't
drink
drink?
anymore. So I it's in that poetic sense of like
It's poetic. Well,
the guy
I'm
who
drinking.
who shadow
I'm drinking a
boxes.
little bourbon, so that's my
Yeah.
answer.
We're American.
We're American. America.
There's no other option.
I'm really crazy too. Like I like some of the other bourbons, but like I'm kind of weird. I like to only buy Kentucky bourbons. I'm sort of a purist at this point for no other reason than that's where it came from, and that's very American to me. So, fuck yeah.
I'm not super
Bourbon
picky.
is a huge treasure.
I've been
Very
really
American.
lately.
What's that?
I've been really enjoying. I've been on like a Buffalo Trace kick lately.
Yes. Dude, I mean, Buffalo Trace is for like under $30. It's an amazing bottle of bourbon. I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, it's Pappy's little brother, man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, dude, I was on one too until they sold all out and I can't get it anymore. I've been on a kick of infusing mostly Wild Turkey 101 with various Christmas spices since it is still winter. So that's been my thing because it's so delicious. But John, I'm going to kick it over to you. That was fun. That was a great conversation, man. Thanks for doing that with us, Nick.
Yeah.
I think that was the best one yet, honestly. I'm going to kick it over to you, John, to kick it off and ask Nick some questions and let's hear about Nick.
Yeah.
That's what you're here for.
I would say that Trash or Treasure was partially inspired. Thanks for the suggestion, Mark. He talked about it. So that was good. But yeah, I had a lot of interesting thoughts to ask you and everything. But one of the biggest ones was, how did you originally get connected to like Brian Alsruhe and like Juji and them? Like what led to all those events?
Man, that's a giant accident. I mean, I found strongman by accident. Like it just, but Brian. So we're all from the same county, Carroll County, out here in Maryland, and Brian was actually had a mutual friend and was basically the guy was like, "Hey, there's a strong kid, out here. You should come check him out. He'd be a good fit for Never State." I didn't even know Never State existed, and it's 2 miles from the house. It's on a 19-acre farm property, and so Brian came out and introduced me. And the first interaction I had with Brian, I was working up to a max deadlift, and I'd never even tried to pull over 500 pounds because I didn't have a reason to. So I was just like, he's like, "What are you planning on pulling?" And I was like, 500. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And he's like, "Okay, well, let's open at that. If you know you can get it." I was like, "All right." So I pulled it. And then he goes, "Go 525, go 555. And I smoke all 3 attempts. And I was like, "Who are you? Like, how did you?" And he really took me under his wing and taught me a lot of the stuff, like gave me my foundation of programming and having a coach. Like it really kind of opened my eyes to what giant set training is and having a real work capacity foundation. And Juji, he, as you know, Brian and I were on YouTube at the time, and we had another guy that was just getting in the YouTube game, Joe Satmary, Coach Sat Strength. I'm sure you guys have seen his stuff at some point. Great dude, love him to death, and we all kind of Juji came up to do strongman, and we all kind of introduced him into strongman, and then he invited us down and we did some strongman stuff. It wasn't until like the third collab with Juji that he taught us to flip. And I was the first one to land it, just saying. But Brian, being a 275-pound human, plummeting like 5.5 foot up in the air, was a pretty wild thing to see. An almost 300-pound human do. And yeah, it just kind of happened. Brian was pushing really hard at YouTube at the time. I was pushing, and Zat Strength, he's still climbing. He's still doing great things with YouTube. So it just kind of happened. Like, it wasn't as ad-backed platformy as it is now. So it was a little easier for things to go viral then and stuff. And it wasn't that long ago. It's just all moving that fast now. There were a lot more, the presence of who's who and who's really putting out tangible things was not as saturated. Like you had Mark Bell, you had Alan Thrall, you had I think Brian was just getting wound up. Shaw was just getting wound up at the time, and yeah, Brian Alsruhe, and he'd been doing it since like T-Nation, which was before my time. And we had a very interesting dynamic there. Never State. We had Andy Shadio, who we call him Dirty Andy. That's Brian Shaw's corner man. So that led to us going out to Colorado and training with Brian Shaw. One of our guys is a fucking zookeeper with gorillas. And like, and then we had Olu, Nigeria's strongest man, competed at the Botswana World's Strongest Man, representing Nigeria. Like, it was just it was like this perfect storm that nobody knew about, and it was fucking awesome. And yeah, like I learned a circus dumbbell on Mike Jenkins's Rogue dumbbell. He set the world record on. So like that's kind of cool. That all connected. Like it's just Carroll County's weird, man. Like there's something going on out here.
Yeah, that's really interesting
amazing
to hear. Yeah, and it's weird because you're right that it wasn't that far long ago. Like 2017 was like this weird golden era of YouTube where you just had everyone doing these things. There was no
Yeah.
real like structure to things. There wasn't this like mathematically programmed of like do this kind of thumbnail, do this, post at this time. It was like, hey, we're all just hanging out. And you'd had YouTubers who were like big hanging out with everyone else. Like it's interesting to just think about that of like
Yeah.
that it wasn't that long ago that like 5 years ago the internet was a different place than it is now.
Yep.
And now I think
it's absolutely wild. I started at this little gym called Muscle Mind. They introduced me to strongman, and then Brian, about a year or two later, really he opened my eyes. He got me to my first national title, got me to the Arnold. I was competing 231s at like 185 pounds. I got mistake for 175. I was training there for my first official strongman games, missed podium by point. Like Brian really laid my foundation for what I've done to where I've gotten to today. So I'm very grateful for that time.
Yeah, I think it was like a really neat era within things. Also, I had before I forget, there was like a meme question someone asked me to ask you. They said, if you have to go to like get your chest waxed, do you prefer like a studio or just Atlas stones with tacky like OSG?
Atlas stones with tacky.
Yeah, everyone was talking about it. They're like, that looks so painful, just losing chunks.
Only time I ever had a chest waxing.
That's crazy.
You probably don't even feel it in the heat of the moment anyway, right?
No, but when you feel it is when you get in the shower.
Right.
And then it's burning and it's still bleeding a little bit. Like,
oh yeah, man, I don't miss that. I don't miss that very much. Like I used to do everything bare sleeve, like no sleeves, no shirt. That's how I broke out in strongman. And I mean, it was the worst. Like cleaning it off later with like WD-40 and like this bleeding wound, and like going home and showering.
Yeah, I just don't like between me and the stone. Like you look when a guy wears a shirt on stones, yeah, you suck for about 20 minutes after that. But like you see guys' shirts ripping, you see when they go to load it, you see the shirt sliding and pulling down. Like I'd rather lose skin and
Sure.
have it stay.
No, that's
Yeah,
definitely
that'd
a
be
good
fair
point.
enough. I think that's why a lot of people do it. I mean, you're exactly right. Because I mean, I've had shirts rip. I usually tie my shirts down so they don't. But yeah, you put enough tacky on, especially like spider tacky. Yeah, I mean, shirts rip all the time, and I mean, ultimately, you end up skin to skin anyway. But
Yeah.
I'm just a pussy, Nick. I don't like I don't like losing skin anymore.
Do you guys
I've lost so much skin.
the first
I'm so
generation
scarred.
shorts? Do you guys remember like the first gen Under Armour shorts that were like super stretchy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I wore that in my first strongman contest, and I wore a shirt, and the shirt wasn't the issue. The super stretchy Under Armour shorts were sticking to the stone all the way over the bar. And like
Dude,
there's a picture low angle, and it's like the most epic bat wing. And like you can see
that's
like
awesome.
doing to my nuts. It's like it's a very graphic photo. There's a lot going on.
That's awesome, man. That same thing happened to me at 2017 USS Nationals, the year that Jeff won. Dude, the same thing. I was actually wearing like Adidas shorts or something, like basketball shorts. The stupidest like novice amateur mistake ever. Like I've got a picture too. Like I've got the stone and I couldn't get it just like that inch because my shorts were stuck so hard to the stone, like all the way up to the bar. And I'm like, I can't go any higher because my shorts are like pulling me down.
Yeah,
That's the worst.
those learning experiences, man, they suck while they're happening, but boy, are they fun to look back at.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to make mistakes to get better, and obviously, I mean, I'm sure you've made a lot of mistakes and learned from them. You wouldn't be where you are now if that wasn't the case. So
You can't win if you don't
part of the
fail.
journey. What's that?
Can't win if you don't fail.
That's right. That's right, man. I say to everybody, you gotta lose a few times before you can win. It's kind of the way it is. I mean, anybody that gets into the sport, if they're scared of losing, like, well, you're not going to win then. Like, if you can't go to a competition without winning, like, you're never going to probably win. I mean, there's those freaks out there, of course, that come out of nowhere and are just amazing athletes. But I mean, eventually they start losing too. I mean, the higher up you go, the more you lose, I think.
Yeah. I mean, especially in a sport where there's so many variables, changing events, people coming and going all the time. Like, it's like I hate losing, but I know it's a possibility, and it's not always going to be within my control. Like, sometimes, like someone's just going to have a better event, or they're going to be they're just stronger, right? So, like, I accept that it's a possibility. Doesn't make me hate it any less, but I'm gonna run what I brung and till the wheels fucking fall off. So
Yeah, and that's all you can do. That's all you can do, man. So, so the next show it's looking like it's Chaos, correct?
Yep, that's my next one.
So how's I mean, dude, the athlete roster is pretty insane. I mean, you've got guys coming up. I mean, Ben Donan's coming up from the 80s. Tyler Young's dropping down. You got people like John Hack showing up out of an amazingly strong power lifter. How are you feeling going into this competition? I mean, how's training going? I mean, obviously the goal's to win, but just give us kind of some ideas of what's going on in your head and your plans to go against this absolutely insane field of competitors.
I'm excited, first of all. We got 2 105s coming down, and Tyler was a very accomplished 90 kilo before he moved up to 105.
Sure. Yeah.
So, like, I know that's not going to be an issue for him. I'm super excited to see how Matt McKeegan handles this cut, because, like, that's going to be probably one of the biggest cuts we've seen in a long time, and he's good at it. And I'm enjoying the process of seeing someone do that, because I see so many people bitch about 10, 15-pound cuts. Like, yeah, it sucks. We know. Like, it's hard. But training, man, we've I had that back injury. I had to drop out of my own class. 2 weeks out, I re-crunched my L5S1 my last deadlift session. And first contest I ever had to drop out of. So I was gutted, and it was the first 90. I wanted to be a part of it for Clash, and it just sucked. So then we scrambled and went right into a rehab to get ready for OSG. And still going in, my deadlift was probably my weakest event. I only got like 4 reps at 610. And it is what it is, but I didn't get hurt in it. My back was still good. It was healthy, and I knew when to hit the brakes on that and walk away with what I had. So that's going to be a big focus, is we're really tuning up, focusing down on assistance movements on deadlift to keep the risk low this early on and really just bulletproof my lower back, my hamstrings. Doing a lot of knee health work, a lot of pauses and squats all the way at the bottom, a lot of volume. My coach, Max McCall, he's been great, very responsive to any sort of pain or anything. And I've been getting, once we got transitioned from push press on the Viking back into push jerking, that's when I started getting the knee pain. And we just kind of revamped my training, and we're really focusing on my static strength because I show up on carries, and making sure at this point in time everything is pain-free. And we're really building the small stuff around the main movers to kind of come into July. I feel like bring a whole nother gear in my static game, because I know, you got Shane with MST, static animal, right? CJ's really stepping up his static stuff. A lot of the European guys are just statically really fucking strong. So I know that I'm more than capable in anything moving and speed wise. So we've done our homework. We have a game plan, and I'm fucking excited to really, be healthy. And I haven't posted anything in like 4 weeks. Just I haven't felt like it.
Yeah.
And we're kind of hitting the reset button with the training, and I just didn't care to show some of the homework I was doing because it's nothing glamorous. It's nothing. It's lots of leg extensions, pauses, a lot of time on the airsoft bike, getting my knees warmed up. Like it's nothing. I'm just happy to be in the gym and super focused on the homework right now and getting the pieces together. So when it comes time for full blown prep, like we're firing on all cylinders, and I can give these guys everything I got.
Yeah. The glamour's really built in all of that unglamorous movement anyway, right? I mean, that's where, you're a very accomplished and experienced athlete now. I mean, that the guys that are maxing out every day and pushing themselves to the limit it's going to be harder for them to bring it on game day than somebody who's physically, rehabbed, like you call it, doing their homework and being ready for that. That's where the magic really happens. I mean, it took me a long time to learn that, but going into this, who, if anybody, how do I want to say this? I doubt you're scared of anybody, but who do you think is maybe the biggest competition coming in there? I mean, there's, again, it's probably hard to choose, but
Joe, I had this conversation, and like I'd be talking out of my ass if I could pinpoint any one person. Obviously, you got the 105s coming down. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're going to be a problem. But I don't think there's anyone you can count out. I mean, it showed like from first at OSG, from first to fucking 7th place was separated by 4 points. Like it can go, all it takes is one little mistake and it's going to throw a wrench into everything. So man, it's just, I wholeheartedly believe I'd be talking out of my ass if I feel one person is more of a threat than another. At OSG, I didn't really know. I knew Tyler had a great season, but I never met him. So and I'm not someone that constantly looks and see who's doing what, because then I lose focus on my own shit.
And you're
But
referring to Tyler Davis, obviously, correct?
yeah, Tyler Davis, yeah, like, and I'm just saying, like, I didn't really know him before that, but I'd seen, he did well at Clash. He won the World Ultimate Strongman show in Paris. And then you had McNamee. I mean, as someone who I won the Farmers at OSG at one point. I placed second in the yoke. To see a guy like McNamee come out there and just turn on the gas on both the Farmers and the yoke, like, it was incredible to see. And you got Derek Owens, who is a consistent guy and someone I love competing against because he's a fucking sweetheart. And CJ, his weak link for a long time is the deadlift, and he looks like he has really been doing his work on that deadlift. So, as everyone knows, one of the best pressers in the 90s right now. Nadimu, game day dude, Team CrossFit Games athlete, like, just knows how to wake up and turn on and deliver a solid performance. I'm probably missing names. I mean, Nick O'Hare, I know he didn't have the performance anyone expected or he wanted at OSG, but he's a nose to the grinder kind of guy. So I would not let his performance at OSG dictate what we should expect from him moving forward.
But he's also got a history of doing very well at OSG. So,
yeah.
That's always the threat.
Yeah, you can't base someone, their next contest based on the last one bad performance. So a lot of these guys, every one of us has had a contest we definitely feel like we could have done better on or we're embarrassed about, but that's what makes us work hard. And I think that's why the people that are going. And, Ben Donen just put up a 231-pound dumbbell and set the world record for the 80 kilo. That's a huge dumbbell. So, and that's a lot. I mean, like you said, when I did the 252-pound dumbbell, there's a lot of 105 guys that can't hit that. There's a lot of 90 guys that can't hit 230-pound dumbbell. Like, it's a very technically sound lift. And if the littlest thing's off, like, bar path is perfect. It doesn't go.
Right.
So just by that alone, that tells me he's an attention to detail guy, because the circus dumbbell is a hard record to get, just by the nature of that lift. And I didn't pay too much attention at OSG because I was focused on competing, but I think he had a pretty consistent performance across the board. I don't think he really fell in a hole anywhere. So he's going to be putting on weight, and he's, it's going to be epic to watch. It's going to be exciting. Like, if you do not want to miss this as a viewer, it's going to be so close. 90 kilo, I don't care what anybody says, 90 kilo was the class to watch at this OSG. It was so fucking competitive. And 90 kilo, over the past 3 years between 2019, there was no 2020, 2021, and this year, I mean, the bar just went bing, 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 and chaos is like putting the icing on the cake as far as how this progression has been going. So, man, I can't pick a person. Like, I'd feel kind of shitty kind of doing it because I genuinely don't know. Like, it could be fucking anyone. There's so many threats and so many events.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's a loaded question. I think, I kind of feel like we asked Luke Davies when we had him on something similar, and the conversation goes the same with everybody. It's hard, man. When you're in this kind of field of competitors, I mean, this is the best of the best from the world right here. And I know I'm super excited to see it, and I'll be the first to admit it, that this is, I mean, I watched the under 90 France. I was at SCL when Tyler Davis podiumed there, and watched OSG. But I don't think I've ever looked forward to an under 90 competition as much as this one. And,
Me
in
either.
such capable and passionate hands as Luke Davies, I mean, this is definitely going to be a show to watch,
Yeah.
and can't be more excited.
And like at the end of the day, we're all very competitive, and we're going to be bummed if we didn't win. That's just how it goes at this level. But anyone, whether you finish, I don't care if you finish last at this show, the fact that you were on the roster is a statement. At this point, you were revered as one of the best in the world at this weight division. So
Absolutely.
Luke Davies has set a standard with this and really gotten some people's attention of, okay, these, he took the heat of inviting who he felt should be there and then took suggestions. So, I mean, that was a ballsy thing on his end. And, he pays attention to the sport. So I think even that decision was in very good hands. And it wasn't hard because he paid attention at OSG and saw like how close we were top to bottom. And I'm very excited to see the show. I'm excited to help promote this. And I really hope, my fellow competitors really do the justice in getting this promoted. And the bigger the show is, like I said to Joe, the sport of weight class strongman is purely in the hands of the community.
Yeah.
So
I think
Yeah,
that's a
100%.
good point. That's what I was interested about with your interview with Joe when you said like the importance of having that strategy of thinking 12 weeks out, you want to start posting more regularly. You want to keep the audience updated and engaged about it because at the end of the day, a lot of people pay a lot for like marketing and stuff where like you can do really organic marketing through online and that social media. I think a part of it, I mean, I've experienced it of like it's weird being on camera and it's sometimes you can be really critical of yourself, but in this day and age when I mean the algorithm is just rewarding quantity over quality a lot of times, like keep putting stuff out there. It's the same way of like it's interesting because I think many people, if you approach social media the same way you approach training, you think you just keep doing it. You wouldn't just like, oh, just try a lift once and you're like, well, that didn't go well. Like I didn't feel good about it, so I'm just not doing it again. You would just keep doing. And I think that was an interesting point you brought up of the importance of like people want to know more about the athletes. So Darin's talked about like one thing that's underrated on the live streams is like hearing the athletes' perspectives of like it was interesting watching OSG and then Martine's his cameraman Romark like miking up the athletes and hearing those exchanges and stuff like the importance there. So where I was going with this is does most of your ideas about the marketing and stuff there has it come from research, personal experience, or have you like done some marketing courses or anything like that?
both. The marketing courses were honestly pretty limited, and it was just paying attention. Like the paper trails, the trail's been made, right? We've seen what can work and what doesn't work, and it works. The biggest problem is people trying to make it like this secret science, and it's really not. Like you either have you have money back content, and it gets bigger reach and engagement because it is being paid to basically be available at a much more higher rate in front of people's eyes. You're paying for priority, like just like you would for first class, right? And then you have organic content, and everybody talks algorithm, this, that, and the other, and it is a thing, and it's going to cater to the people that are posted. I've tested it, right? Like I have a TikTok, and I posted regularly, and with a very small audience, I was getting the several. Like when I first started with like 30 followers, and I was posting regularly, like every day, I was getting between 700 and 1,000 something views, and then I stopped for like 2 weeks, and then posted one. It got like 20 views. So like I did that on a cycle just to see what would happen, and it like TikTok and Reels operate the same because Reels is developed to be the answer for TikTok. So part of it is trial and error. Part of it is I've done some courses, And part of it is knowing and understanding the sport, right? And seeing what people are doing. And you can put two and two together and why certain things. I've been on the front line of it all. I've done it for a couple companies in the past, and um, I've seen I've had the ability to try and fail and try and succeed and kind of develop the strategies. Basically know it's going to change, know it's not going to be, no, nothing is guaranteed, but there is a trail and a path and framework to get more engagement, get your content out there more regularly. So it just takes work. It takes ass time in a chair. It takes paying attention to your analytics. And the only ones I would say for people trying to learn where to start, just pay attention to your peak times, pay attention to your demographic, and know your time zone. So you know how to hit your peak time the most and where your demographic is in relation to where you live and where you're posting, and then go from there. So that's how I would explain that the best, is peak times and your demographics, so you know how you can double up peak times across a couple different time zones.
I think that's super important, especially now. I think oftentimes there's this sense that I got now, other people I talk to, this sense of like maybe you've missed the boat to like get noticed, or like maybe the attention just might not be there. But I think our friend of the show, Mark, is a great example of someone who a little over a year ago had 71 followers on Instagram and now has 20,500 some, which is insane. And 10,000 of them came from like last month. And that part of it is that consistency of like, his audience definitely is different, but I think that consistency and that engagement, rather than, I think sometimes people, if you get that post that got 20 views, it's easy to just give up then. And I think oftentimes people need to realize that like it's kind of a cycle of like if people don't promote the shows well, it doesn't get nearly the level of engagement, which then just hurts things in general. So I think that's a very important to think. Like we're 7 months out and people are already really hyping this show up, which is huge.
People are already doing their part, and that's really good to see.
Yeah, like the athletes, like just the simple thing of being able to get someone's name on the back of the shirt, like those little things to help grow the sport are really important. So I was just impressed overall by your knowledge about that. And just like you were saying, like treating it like a job rather than necessarily kind of taking it either too personally and not doing it, or just not always doing it, because it is that free resource. So people do want to see what you're doing out there, and that engagement of like, at the end of the day, this is for the athletes. And I think oftentimes like people can benefit from getting noticed like that. So what kind of advice would you give overall to like people who are either trying to qualify for this show or trying to help promote this show, like your fellow athletes? Or
What advice do I give people to qualify? Is there like a set qualification?
There are some online qualifier, like 4 events or something, maybe 5. There's like moving.
Give it a crack. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you don't qualify, and then you're back where you started. Literally have nothing to lose. Why not? My fellow athletes leading up to this show, I think I said it before and I'll say it again, we all have a responsibility to really make sure we're getting out the info on where it will be streamed and whatnot, where Derek was helping with the production of the shirts and stuff, and getting that information out there and just making sure the information is in constant flow. And it's all out there in front of everyone's eyes consistently, and just being pumped at, we have, I don't know how many athletes total now, but there's no reason why it can't be, 2 or 3 times a week between all of us. Like it can't be in people's faces. So I think it's a really easy thing to do, a bare minimum thing to do. And something we have as a responsibility as athletes to promote ourselves. We're not the heavyweights. We don't have IGM backing our production. And IGM is a powerhouse production media company, right? So they have the infrastructure. They got things like Monster Jam going on. We don't have that. We are doing it ourselves. We're on the front lines and we're the tip of the spear, and it totally falls in our laps to really make sure this goes. So I don't care if it's them recording a video of them talking about it, what's going on. I don't care if it's a picture. I don't care if it's a highly edited video shot on a $5,000 camera. It doesn't matter. Get the content out there. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be out there. You have an audience. People are going to listen. They already listen to your sloppy ass content if that's how you make it, right? They already listen to your polished content if that's how you make it. And that polished content didn't start out polished. It started out sloppy. I know. So, yeah.
It is.
And tag us. We will share. Yeah. I mean, John, myself, and WSO, tag us. We'll share everything. I mean, it's exposure. I mean, we're glad to help. We want to help. We're very excited for Chaos. We're excited to help Luke Davies and all the athletes by all means. So we're here to help.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna die, Nick.
Like what, Duck? Yeah.
Trying to get your phone charged.
It's my iPad. Shit.
Oh yeah. No, I think that's the main thing is for people to just like that consistency. I think anything takes practice, and oftentimes it can be discouraging if you're not getting as much interaction. But also, I would say advocate for like audience members and stuff who, if you're a fan of these shows, things you can do that are free of liking things, sharing things, save people's posts, like save the dates for these things and stuff.
Sorry for ruining the podcast.
Oh, no.
No, I don't think most of our platforms people can see the recording anyway. So I mean, only YouTube, I think, and I don't know, John. Is any
Spotify part-time does it apparently? You can choose to like watch. It's always hard because some people ask me that like I can always tell who watches YouTube because they're like the production quality's gone up. Whereas if they just listen to the audio, a lot of times they're like, maybe it's better. I can't tell, and I'm like, okay. Yeah. But we're definitely trying to update things here because I think that is a hard thing. Here's a little Easter egg for anyone who gets this far in the episode. I usually weigh about like 195 pounds-ish. I have a size 48 metal jack, the multiply deadlift suit. If you message the channel or me, I'll mail it out to you for free. It's just like a gift. It's a nice deadlift suit. I've worn it like 5 times. It's a nice little giveaway. And if no one gets to this part, we know how many people actually make it. What were you going to say?
Well, we know how many people that are your size make it.
That's true. That's true. Some people might do it as a gift, a free deadlift suit in the mail.
Hey, you can turn around and sell it on Craigslist for $100, probably.
Easy.
Yeah. 50, maybe. I don't know how much a used metal suit is worth.
I broke down a guy for 2021, got to use it once, and then they outlawed it in this past OSG, which is fine. The only reason I was bummed is I was like, oh, like now it just sits. Like I'm neither here nor there on equipped. If it's allowed, I'm gonna do it. If it's not allowed, I'm not gonna do it. I don't care. I don't do most of my shoot anyway, so I only relearn it right before.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I actually prefer like less equipment because there's less stuff that I have to haul around the world. so just don't allow it. Less is better for me and for everybody. Less stuff that I have to worry about training in and and being uncomfortable and everything else. So one thing I like about SCL, they're all about like minimal equipment, right? They're kind of weird that you can only wear like one sleeve on one arm, but you can wear both knee sleeves. But it's because their theory is that neoprene sleeves are for injuries, not for support. And they kind of have a point. At least they have like a valid reason for why they don't do it, but yeah, I'm all about less. Less is more, man.
No, I think that's key of like that minimalist of like. I think
I'm
it
not
helps with the overall approach.
I'm not gonna leave pounds out there and give someone else an advantage. I'm too competitive for that shit.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's allowed, I'm going to bring it. I'm going to bring everything at
sure.
my disposal. I hate grip shirts. I like literally, I hate cleaning a log with a grip shirt. But I know that it's a lot easier. So
I
if it's allowed, I'm going to wear it. But
like
I never trained with one.
if you know how to wear a belt, you don't need a grip shirt. I'm just gonna say.
Exactly. I've never needed a grip shirt. As a matter of fact, like when I put a grip shirt on, my clean is so efficient that I usually almost take my head off the first time I clean with a grip shirt because it moves so damn fast. I'm like, I've never expected.
Yeah, I've never had an issue cleaning, so I've never. And
What's your
plus,
advice for the belt? What's the best way to do a belt so the clean's easier?
um, I mean, especially if you have a prong belt, like you can basically turn that bitch into a forklift.
Yeah.
He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you basically build a shelf. So you're not supposed to build a shelf, right? A lot of rules say you can't put a towel because, like in the old days, guys would tuck a towel into their belts to build up their belt to ramp bars and logs and stuff off of. But with a prong belt, you can just loop it out more, right?
And
And
it has like this tongue, and the log
yeah,
sits. And it's like a
you
U
just
shape.
catapult it off your belt. I mean, I've been doing that for years. I mean, even with an SBD is enough for me. If you're lean enough in the lower weight classes, you don't have a power belly, so your belt sticks out a little bit anyway. I mean, especially with a soft belt underneath of it, that's plenty build up to launch a log off of.
Yes.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I never I've done it in training. I've never used it in contests because I don't sit with the log in the bottom. I am a very explosive human. Like I stand all the way up, get my breath, and rebound out of the hole and fire it
Yeah,
up. I use that tension, right? And that rebound reflex, whatever you want to call it scientifically. Um, that's how I clean the log. So that's never been a make it or break it for me, belt or no belt. I actually clean better without a belt, but I press, when it gets heavy, having that belt to really brace down under a heavy
sure.
log really helps. But I'm someone who wears my belt a little bit looser on overhead because I like to have that clean mobility. I actually started wearing, I wear an SBD leather belt, but actually now on my log specifically, I wear a softy, and then I have one of those light Rogue soft belts on the outside because
Oh,
I can
nice.
get it
You move.
tighter and still move on the clean like I like to move. And then when I'm upright and rigid, I can brace into that tightness like I would with a hard belt. And now it's not as rigid, but I
Sure.
don't like being too tight because then, the room starts getting smaller. So
Yeah, I'm
just
the thing.
belt on
The
log.
older I get, actually, the less support that I'm wearing because it's so restrictive. It's so constrictive and restrictive. Man, I feel so much better training without. And like I keep telling you guys this, if you learn to clean properly, you don't need all of that equipment. If you learn to lift properly, and period,
Yeah.
you don't need all of that equipment. Strongman gets so reliant on support equipment that it gets. I mean, now we're using grip shirts because people suck at cleaning. Apparently, just learn how to do it. You don't need the grip shirt, and if they're allowed, go and use them. But I mean, seeing so many people training in grip shirts these days, like you're doing yourself a disservice
Well, it's because
massively.
they're learning from people that are teaching them to do it in a grip shirt, which I think is a
Yeah,
huge fault into that competitors, because I didn't learn. I didn't even know what a belt clean was for probably my first 2 or 3 years within the sport. I cleaned. I'll belt clean now because it's fucking allowed. I'm not gonna. It makes it way easier. I'm not gonna shit
absolutely.
myself out of those points. But I don't stress when a belt clean's not allowed. Like
Yeah,
it.
learn to
it
clean.
yeah, learn to clean it. Learn to get way the fuck back here because we don't have a belly. And know it's gonna suck, and just get it off there as fast as possible. Like just keep it moving.
Yep. Exactly. That's the greatest advice to anybody. Just learn to do the movements and stop relying on so much equipment. You're going to be so much better off, more versatile as an athlete, and more prepared in the long run. But hey, guys, we're getting up to onto an hour and 10 minutes rather. We're getting a little long, so let's close it up. Nic, any closing thoughts? How can people find you on the socials? Anything else you want to? Any other parting words?
Yeah, uncle.nick, that's Nic, no K. Uncle.nick on both Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, I mean, I got some stuff coming. Some I've been working on that I've really, put my creative heart and soul into, that I'm really excited to bring to the table within the year. So, like I said, I may or may not have created my own pirate flag. So I've been getting asked a lot where they can get the Uncle Nick hat. This is a hat that I have found that I don't tell people where I get it because I don't want them making all the money that I bring for their business. So I decided to make my own that people can get with something that I put a lot of, with my knowledge of pirate history and my passion into designing. Every part of it has a thought and a reason. So I'm really excited to bring it on within the coming year and go out, support these athletes, tune into the live streams. Even if you can't watch it, like, just tune into it and let that shit play. Like, you're helping, you're part of the growth of the sport, even if you're just a viewer. Because if you aren't watching, we're not growing. So, yeah, that's just tune in. Like, it's what, $9?
That's awesome. Yeah, we will. We'll spread the word too. We'll get the word out. It was a pleasure having you on, Nic. I mean, seriously, this was a great episode. Loved it. Hope we can do it again in the future.
Still down.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you in your training at the Chaos and with all of your other ventures you got going on, man.
I'm all over the
It was
place.
great having you. All right, man.
Yeah.
Have you guys.
Thanks for stopping by.
Support us on Patreon or Anchor, and find us on Instagram or Facebook.